G'day, Tragic here, and welcome to the vote results video. So this is the video where I'm just going to discuss the results of the vote we had for the next game. Now don't worry if your game isn't in this list or you don't like the result. I mean, I will play the game that's voted for, but I am going to be playing other games. I mean, this is just a way for me to interact with the viewers a little because I find that amusing. And also, I get a kind of idea of the sort of games you like, even the ones that aren't being played on the channel. Now, the voting system I went for, I wanted a kind of voting system that had some kind of weighting. Like, say a game gets voted 5 times in number 1 as the first choice. I wanted that to count for a lot. But I also wanted the ability for the other games to have the opportunity to actually overtake that, maybe. Like, say a game was voted 5 times at number 1, but there was another game that was really popular amongst the community, but, and got other votes. It had the possibility of catching up. So the way I did this, and I'm not a statistician, so if, you think that there's a better way to do this, let me know. I just did a reverse points order. So if there's 5 games being voted on, the game at number 5 gets 1 point, and the vote for number 1 gets 5 points. And that's pretty much it. I did play around with the idea of having number 1 have 2 points, which is probably maybe more fair, but it also means that the other points don't count because no one would ever be able to take over. In the event of any tied values, I'm just going to choose the one that had the most number 1 votes. And if that's the tie, most number 2 votes, etc., etc. So that's the voting system that I did and why it's cool to vote for more than one game. I also had a couple of random suggestions for just things to play, and this is a good video to do that kind of thing on. If you have things you want me to play in those votes videos, because I read all the threads and stuff and write everything down and put it in the notebook. A lot of people mention Lord of the Rings, the LCG. They are going to be played sporadically across the channel. I'm sort of right into that game again at the moment. A lot of people ask for Arkham Horror 2nd Edition. Unfortunately, I won't be able to play that for a while. I actually mailed my entire Arkham Horror 2nd Edition collection to a friend of mine in another state when COVID happened, so he could have a big, fancy game to play with his family, and he's a big fan of that game, and he's still got it. He's a very trustworthy board gamer. There is no way it's going to be damaged, and I will get it back. When I get it back, I will play it, but I just don't have it in the house at the moment, so that's not an option. What was interesting is a lot of people did vote for Eldritch Horror, but they didn't vote it as a number 1 option. It actually came in 3rd, I think. No, it actually came in 4th. It was beaten by Ancient Terrible Things, which I really wanted that one to be number 1. That was such an awesome game. I was really surprised how many people voted for that. And what was cool about Ancient Terrible Things is it got most of its votes in as a secondary vote. Like, it got voted as option 1 6 times, but it got voted as option 2 8 times, which was, no one was even close in option 2. That's why it was so high. And I like that about the weight system that I'm using. Anyway, a couple of people mentioned what expansions they wanted to play with Eldritch Horror, and just by randomness, every one of them said the same thing, which was the Pyramids expansion. So next time I play Eldritch Horror, I will definitely play the Pyramids expansion. Another thing that was sort of random was one guy mentioned a company called Chip Theory Games. And I actually own a couple of Chip Theory sort of series, I guess. I can never pronounce this, like Homolopolis or something. It's some kind of Greeky kind of sounding name or Romany sounding name. It's a sort of arena combat game. It's very, very cool. I also own a game of theirs called Too Many Bones, which is a solo co-op combat game, which is a sort of reimagining of those arena combat rules from their old game, but with an adventure game sort of covering. It's a very, very cool game, and you know what? I really should have had that in the voting list to vote on because it is a really great game, and it's actually been buried in my cupboard for God knows how long now. I probably would have made that the secret game if the secret game won, or if there was some kind of tie. I think if there was a tie for first place, I was also going to play the secret game. Anyway, I will put that on the next voting one because it's a very cool game. So let's just go through what we actually got. Xayah got the least votes at 37 points. Poor Xayah. It is a fantastic game. The Secret Game was voted for quite a lot. It actually came in next lowest at 51 points. Then came Now and Never with 53. Then Eldritch Horror with 62. Ancient Terrible Things at 83. Mage Knight at 90. And Sword and Sorcery at 99. So there you go. Sword and Sorcery was the clear winner. It got 12 votes as option 1. So the closest to that was Mage Knight with 7 votes. That's how many people voted for Sword and Sorcery. What was interesting though is that Sword and Sorcery got hardly any votes out of option 1. You know, like almost none. Like Now and Never, for example, it got 4 votes in option 1 and it got 5 in option 2 and 1 in option 3 and 1 in option 4. Like it kept getting voted for, but just not at the number 1 place. But yeah, Sword and Sorcery, definitely the clear winner. Now, this does lead to a kind of issue. Sword and Sorcery is by the same guys who did Galaxy Defenders, which is a game I love, but they produce campaign-based games. So they're scenario games that link together to make a campaign. And I'm not sure whether I'm willing to commit to like a 300-hour game on my channel as I play the entire campaign. So we have 2 options, and if you have any preferences, put it in this video comments. But basically, I can either choose a cool standalone scenario, because there's a lot of standalone scenarios I can choose from, or I'll just start with campaign 1, and I'll just, like Lord of the Rings, I'll just pepper in an extra campaign mission from Sword and Sorcery as I move onward. So that's pretty much it. Sword and Sorcery is the winner by 9 points, beating out Mage Knight, which is still an incredibly popular game, and for good reason. And Ancient Terrible Things came so close. It was really cool at the beginning because everyone was voting for it. It wasn't until, after the video had been up for like a good week or 2 that the Sword and Sorcery votes started coming in. I actually thought Ancient Terrible Things was going to win because it was miles ahead of them. Anyway, that's that. Sword and Sorcery will be next, and I will see you guys next time.